Vaush, I'm a meteorologist, and this storm is currently doing things I've never seen a hurricane do. The rate at which it's intensifying right now as we speak is something that's never been seen before and is outpacing even the most aggressive computer models. I'm genuinely convinced it could make a run at being the most strong Atlantic hurricane on record. Unprecedented shit. Yeah, remember when I said that God is charging a Donkey Kong neutral B right now in the Gulf of Mexico? This is what it looks like from space. It's crazy. Literally, over the course of like 12 hours, it ratcheted up like 3 tiers in terms of hurricane power level. Classic HD, bro. Black of the center, oof. Yeah. Look at this. 3 hurricanes in the Atlantic at once. Mind you, of these 3, the most devastating by far is Milton over here. By far the most, because remember, the heat of the ocean is what determines, largely, the danger of a hurricane, and the Gulf of Mexico is much, much warmer than, like, the Atlantic at large. Can planes fly over them? If they want to die, I think. I think planes can make it over light tropical storms just fine, but over a Category 5 hurricane, look at the ball of white and black here at the center of this one. I think that, like, going over this one would be maybe unwise, but I'm not a pilot. Yeah, you can fly into Hurricane Milton. I don't know if you can fly out. My former company is based out of Tampa. We were fully remote for the past 6 years. 2 weeks ago, they began pushing people to go into office. Last week, nearly a third of employees resigned. Jesus. Yeah, I can't really blame them. Is the eye of the storm actually calm? Kind of. The eye of the storm is calm in terms of wind speeds. But the real problem that we've talked about with hurricanes is the water. It's the storm surge and it's the rain. Flooding is usually what kills people in hurricanes. The wind can kill people, but usually if you're shacked up well enough, you know, you're safe from the wind. Like, wind can be defeated by being in, like, a strong facility, you know? Flooding, however, is unstoppable and cannot be defeated with human technology. It's we have yet to beat water. Water always wins. We have yet to find a solution to water. Ask the Netherlands. Listen, don't you even go thinking about the Netherlands right now, okay? If something like that, you know right now, the, like, tidal control engineers in the Netherlands are, like, sweating profusely every hurricane season now, just wondering, like, when is it gonna happen, man? When is a storm surge of, like, 0.1 inches going to hit our reclaimed wetlands and flood half of our country in no time, you know? They have cold water protecting them from hurricanes, lol. Yeah, for now. In the climate science realm, there's a bit of controversy. The model for climate change might be underestimating how bad it gets. This bit comes from the fact that there were hot models that felt too extreme, so scientists sort of assumed they were overestimations and reported the more moderate ones. I would blame mainstream media for that, because after Al Gore was completely correct back in 2000, and every dipshit in the world in 2001 was like, then why are there snowballs? People started to get embarrassed reporting on how bad climate change could be. Like, there was a huge backlash. Like, anytime you would give a somewhat pessimistic estimate, people's response to it would be like, oh, well, what are you, like, in the climate science lobby? What are you doing, getting millions of dollars in government funding? Like, and so people wanted to, like, moderate it, you know? 1 minute ago update on evacuation. Evacuate, don't wait, do it now. Manatee County expands evacuation zones ahead of Hurricane Milton. Whew. What about flood walls? Flood walls, haven't you seen the Batman movie? They're very susceptible to terrorism. Flood walls don't work well with climate change. Flood walls work well with regular climate events, but there's kind of like a scaling issue where there is no flood wall you could build that would keep out a 20-foot storm surge. You would literally need, like, the Great Wall of China around everything, and then that hurricane would just rain inside the wall and drench you anyway. Like, there's basically no way. It can't really deal with rain, and there are scaling issues, and, you know, depends. Well, there's nothing flood walls are going to do down here, I'll tell you that much. Ooh, let's get our favorite pastime, looking at the hurricane from the ISS. That's cool, man. This is how high you have to be flying if you want to fly over Hurricane Milton. Well, sure, but those are like hurricane planes, Stegosaurus. 4th strongest Atlantic hurricane in history at 175 miles per hour. Really? It was a tropical storm like a day ago. It was a Category 1, like a... It's gonna get stronger, too. Stop streaming now. Stop making this worse. It's the 2nd fastest Category 1 to Category 5 in history. Tampa Bay has not been directly hit by a major hurricane in, wow, over a century. First time 3 hurricanes at the Atlantic, second fastest storm to reach Category 5 status, went from tropical storm to Category 5 in like 2 days. Tied for 4th strongest Atlantic hurricane in all recorded history. That's so cool, man. That's so cool. Dude, you know FEMA's tapped out right now, right? Republicans don't even want... Mike Johnson has literally said, like, he doesn't want to approve. As Speaker of the House, we're not going through with any more FEMA funding. There's nothing. There's nothing left. Maybe Biden can dip into his Israel money. Yeah, Biden at the White House right now. Sir, a Category 5 hurricane is about to smash into Tampa. They're calling it one of the strongest hurricanes in history. Tampa hasn't been hit in over a century. Oh my God. Send $20 trillion to Israel right now. It's true. It's true. Getting ready for like Lindsey Graham. I mean, Lindsey Graham literally did that on Fox, like live. So it's not even a joke. Like it's not even a joke anymore. There's no point in joking. We live in a humorless world because every joke you can make about politics, people already believe it. Unfortunately, the hurricane is likely to strengthen further. It might actually end up being the strongest hurricane in the Atlantic ever. It still has time to grow. What's the strongest ever? Wilma? Hurricane Wilma. Not a very threatening name considering with wind speeds of 185 miles per hour. And what are the wind speeds currently of Hurricane Milton? 160. It's not even that far off. Wait, no, 175? So it's only 10, yeah, 175. So it's only 10 miles per hour off of being the strongest Atlantic hurricane ever. Yeah, one of these days, it might be this one, it might be another one, but one of these days we will get hit with our first Category 6. I mean, it's not like a meme or whatever, like the scale does go up. People don't realize that Category 5 hurricanes used to be pretty uncommon. Even I remember when they were less common, and I'm 30. Actually, I don't think Cat 6 yet exists. Well, the way the scale has developed would imply that it keeps going. I doubt they would like, oh yeah, 400 miles per hour winds. That's a Category 5 plus plus. Like they would, they would increase the increment as necessary. The line is going up. I'm actually scared. I mean, you probably should be. That's probably like a valid response to the information you're being presented with. PBS says Category 6 would be 192 miles per hour. At least Florida's attached to the U.S. Yeah, that is true. If this was hitting, like, many other places in the area, the death toll would be astronomical. So the fact that it's hitting the United States is good in a humanitarian sense, not just because it's Florida, but also because, we have much better infrastructure. Remember what happened when Puerto Rico got hit? And Donald Trump did, like, nothing? And they still haven't recovered? I mean, they're also America, but you know what I mean. The storm's winds have increased by 85 miles per hour on Monday alone. Milton could weaken before landfall, but it could also grow. Meteorologists, I'm not telling you that you're bad at your jobs. I know that calculating weather events must be unbelievably difficult. However, could you do slightly better? Just a little bit, please. The weakening wind shear will make the hurricane larger before it hits Florida. Right, if it slows down, that means it has time to get larger, which means more water picked up into the system, which means more delicious 85-degree Gulf of Mexico water dumped on Tampa, Florida. Yeah. So, again, the wind speeds aren't even what we're looking at here in terms of danger. It's the storm surge and the water, So, as it slows down, it's just going to get larger and larger. When is estimated landfall? Late today, early Wednesday, I think. And it being slow-moving means more water for longer. Yeah, well, yeah. Keeps over it. Will this affect the election? Okay, I think people were overstating the degree to which the election might have been affected by Helene. This one might. Like, this thing is literally going to be cutting through mainland Florida. Like, genuinely, I have no... Vaush, it's Monday? I thought it was Tuesday. Okay, yeah, no, tomorrow night or Wednesday morning. Yeah, sorry. And this is probably based on older estimates. In all likelihood, it's actually more than this. That water doesn't recede? Not for a while, no. Even leaving aside the fact that water gets trapped in low-lying areas, storm surges keep pretty much like while the hurricane does, and sometimes for a while after. It takes a long time for essentially for the ocean to recede, This is the most up-to-date. When was this issued? 10 a.m. CDT on October 7th. So that's 8 a.m. for me, right? Or 3.5 hours ago. But Milton has gotten stronger in the past 3.5 hours. In fact, I think the article that we were just looking at I don't remember which article it was, said that it's gained 15 miles per hour in speed over the past several hours. New housing crisis just dropped? It's Florida. You don't want to move there anyway. They're evacuating people? Yes. Sorry. Just looking at something. Hello, everyone. Due to... first of all, let's clear the air. Climate change is not real, but also for the second time now, I am getting on stage to tell you that we're...
It's going to happen probably sometime later Wednesday, maybe early Thursday, and it could potentially speed up, and so maybe it'll be a little earlier than that. It could continue slowing. Maybe it'll be a little less, but there is going to be a landfall in the middle of this week. Monday morning, where we are today, you have time to execute your plan, but you got to do it now. There have been some evacuations that have been issued. There's going to be a flurry of them today. I know the counties are working on opening shelters. They typically will open the shelters after they have the evacuation go out, not before.
I hate his voice and demeanor so much. It genuinely is insane that Florida used to be a battleground state and Democrats were so incompetent that they lost it to this guy. Florida's massive right-wing shift happened after DeSantis became governor, in large part. Not entirely, but in large part. Which means that, like, one of the opening... like moves in the downfall of Florida, politically speaking, was Dems ceding ground to this guy, the most like anti-charismatic individual. And it's Florida too. It's not like Louisiana or whatever. Florida contains within it, you know, quite a lot of blue people. Mr. Volcanoes, did you name yourself that because you're a meteorologist? Or I guess that'd be a geologist thing, not a meteorologist thing, but you know, it's earth science. I like volcanoes, they're cool.
So make sure that you're following the news coming out of your local county. But all these barrier islands, all these areas that would be susceptible to this storm surge that's up and down the west coast of Florida, you should assume that there's going to be some...
Is Mount Rainier a volcano? Yeah. I mean, it was. It's not gone off in a while. Mount St. Helens a volcano, and that's only like a few hours away from where I live.
Form of evacuations that are going to be issued by your local county officials. That is going to happen when you have the potential for storm surge of this magnitude. We also have a storm that's already very...
Isn't it wild? It's like a volcano inside a caldera from a bigger volcano. It's like a fantasy setting, you know? It's just like very cool. You know, it's just like very
powerful. Now, the forecasts are that it's going to peak before it reaches landfall, and then weekend it's still going to be a strong storm. But, you know, we don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. And so this is something that's going to be really, really significant one way or another.
What a piece of shit, man. This dude, I mean, he is downplaying it still, because there is literally no way to acknowledge what is happening right now when you're a climate change denier. Like, that's the reason why you've been seeing a bunch of weather control machine conspiracy things from the Republicans. It's like, there's no, they have to come up with an alternate explanation. Death cult shit? It's death cult shit, yeah. And I imagine a lot of the people in Florida will go out thinking that this is the rapture or whatever. Like, God is, you know, God is displeased with homosexuality. He tolerated it through the Greek and Roman eras all the way up to now, but now's the time he's finally going to end the world. Christians are so crazy. Historically, Christians have been very doomsday culty for a long time. It's not just Christians, but we can't deny that, like, the history of Christianity has been the history of people saying, I think God's going to end the earth, like, tomorrow. It's like for all time they've been doing this. You know, that's what happens when you bake like the rapture into your ideology, you know? Is he wearing a jean jacket? It is a denim jacket, yeah. Dope ass vintage Levi's one. Chat and Vaush, I'm devoid of curiosity. I don't feel a will to live. Incorrect. If you actually didn't feel a will to live and you had no curiosity, you wouldn't be sharing your anhedonia with chat. You know, you have to care in order to probe for a social response like that. But you must ask yourself, will you get what you're looking for screaming into the void of thousands of people in the chat of a live streamer while he covers news? Or are you looking for something more direct, intimate, personal, sociable? And if that's the case, what can you do in your life right now to better, you know, meet the needs that you have? You know? Go to your local bus stop. Okay, well, maybe don't open with that. Do you think Norse culture was anything like this with Ragnarok? I think the difference with Ragnarok must need to be that, like, Ragnarok wasn't desirable. The rapture is like the fantasy paradise end of world scenario for Christians. They think they all go up to heaven. Whereas with Ragnarok, it's just like Marvel's Endgame for all the pantheon, right? So I think, like, I would have to assume maybe they thought the world was ending, but Christians want the world to end. When Christians predict the world is going to end, none of them do it with this resigned, like, you know, God, I wish it wouldn't, because they think God is doing it to whisk them off to heaven. So they say it aspirationally, you know? Just, it's not a good, doesn't lead to good mental outcomes. And also to punitively judge the people they don't like. Yep. And, you know, honestly, that's probably the bigger part of it, okay? I think most Christians are motivated not by love of heaven, but fear of hell. Because the way those motherfuckers talk and the way they treat, like, their kids with the abuse and the, like, you know, you'll go to hell if you do this and that and this and the other. You know, I think they're afraid of hell. I don't know how much they think about heaven. I think when they fantasize about the rapture, they think about homosexuals burning forever. They don't really think about them, like, playing a harp in a cloud. I don't know. Just a nasty, nasty ideology. Yeah, and no wonder they're not, like, participants in society in a meaningful sense. Why would you care about improving society when you think all of it is like a fake, ephemeral test of your soul before you get whisked away to eternal paradise or hell? You know, like, who, like, oh, walkable, you know, walkable neighborhoods. Well, I'm an 85-year-old evangelical. Why the fuck would I care about that? You know? Walkable neighborhoods. What? So people can walk to their girlfriend's house and have premarital sex more easily? Nuh-uh. Nope. Like, unironically, it's not even a joke. Remember when we saw that video from Los Angeles where that one city councilman did a town hall on whether or not they should put up, like, some like a children's playground and some benching in the massive open empty park in the middle of the suburban area, and a bunch of, like, 85-year-olds walked out there and they were like, no, we think it would, like, attract hoodlums or make parking worse or something. They're not members of society. They're not participants. This is what qualifies you for the peasantry, okay? I'm telling you, we need to annex Canada and turn all of it into, like, a maybe, like, 1500s tech-wise. Like, I don't think they should have the printing press. I think the printing press is 1600s. I could be wrong. I'm not a historian. And I think they should go there and they should, like, till fields. It's 1400? Okay, just send them back however far they need to be sent for them not to have the printing press. Back in Hurricane Milton, its pressure is rapidly decreasing every hour. Low pressure means higher wind speeds and more dangerous storms that might reach Category 6. Conceptually, Category 6. Oh, wait. Chad, I'm not a meteorologist. Is this bad? Is the sea level pressure of a hurricane rapidly plummeting bad? It's not great. Wouldn't it be good? Because it means the amount of hurricane is going down rapidly. Oh, how's Hurricane Milton doing? Well, there's less of it every minute. Low pressure draws in significantly higher winds and moisture. I suppose that makes sense. The hurricane slows down, so it has more time to spread out and get larger, and the low pressure means it sucks in stuff around it, meaning more water and rain, and more air, because the air is also pulled into a low pressure system, which means that the wind speeds get higher because of the... Yeah, let's just nuke it. It's the only way. Wouldn't a nuke not... Okay, pardon me for being, like, astronomically stupid. A nuke wouldn't do anything to a hurricane at all, right? Even if it was some massive Tsar-Bomba type shit, a hurricane has way more power in it than... Like, even the biggest nuke we could drop would be far weaker in terms of its kinetic energy. It would irradiate it before it hits Florida? Maybe we should. Someone in chat said Category 7. Is that what this means? I don't think... No, it's not Category 7. We don't even have a Category 7. It's just... Maybe this will get designated the first Category 6 hurricane. Maybe that's sensationalist, but it does seem like things are getting really, really bad really, really quickly, so... But if you blast the core, the hurricane would die. I mean, hurricanes are essentially just like a very powerful wind spirit, right? Like an elemental. So somewhere within it, there should be a crystal of power that if we destroy it, the whole thing dissipates. I was talking about this earlier, but we're basically guaranteed to not go about a 5 for now. Well, right, because it's going to slow down eventually before landfall. But, like, clearly, I feel like the category system, if it's purely a wind speed thing, doesn't really accurately describe the problem. If the problem is mostly the flooding in the water, like, it's very contextual, you know? I don't know. The lowest pressure recorded for a storm was 870 millibars, so we're closing it. Wait, really? Whoa, wait. Lowest pressure recorded in hurricane. 870 millibars. And we've gone from 993 to 912 in a little more than a day. So at the current rate of decline... Oh, is this not millibar? Oh, no, I'm stupid. This isn't millibars at all. Sorry. This is MSLP HPA. I'm a scientist. Well, how many millibars is this? How do I convert? How do I do the conversion? That's basically millibars. It's like 1% off. Are they comparable numbers? Like, do they correspond? Surface pressure, a better indicator of hurricane damage potential. All right, if I get too much in the weeds on this, I'm going to start making more statements that are... I'm not a scientist. Original scale, proposed scale. Okay, yeah, we're doing some science stuff. Hectopascals are basically 1-to-1 with millibars. It's a 1-to-1 conversion. Okay, so let's return then to the original point. If the worst or lowest pressure hurricane was 880, the fact that this has gone down 80 points in just over a day and is getting 870, yeah, and is getting quite close to the 870 mark, that's really bad, right? At the current rate of decline, you would expect us to hit... It won't decline like indefinitely because that's not how reality works. It's not a mathematical abstraction. It's a wind system, you know, but I mean, it's very good for Milton. He's going for the world record. Suppose that's true. I have no input on the whether or not Category 6 should be introduced dilemma. It's not... Just, I understand... I can see arguments from both sides. From undecided voter at lib_crusher, the Tampa Bay area's main hospital and only trauma center is built on an island at sea level. Are you kidding me? Okay, unironically, I think that Florida kind of deserves to be abandoned, in large part due to some preposterously stupid decisions that they have made. It's not like hurricanes don't happen here. I mean, like, I know it's been a while since a major one hit Tampa, but they've still hit adjacent to Tampa. There's still, like, heavy rains. Ridiculous. Yeah, TGH is dumb. You have to take a bridge to get to it. Why would you ever do that? Imagine the There's Your Problem episode about this. They need to start picking that shit up, okay? The world is ending. We need their input. I need to hear November Caldwell Kelly, make the jokes. It's very important.
Pressure has dropped from 933 millibars at the 11 a.m. advisory. This is the new special advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Pressure has dropped to 925 millibars, winds at 160 miles per hour, making Milton a Category 5 powerful hurricane, churning just north and west of the Yucatan Peninsula. As we take a look at this, it's data from the Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunters. They indicate that Milton has strengthened to that Category 5 with those maximum sustained winds at 160 miles per hour. It is sitting 735 miles southwest of...
Okay, somebody just linked this. Zoom.earth map pressure. Okay, I think this information is out of date because if you scroll over where it is, the center of the hurricane is at 982 millibars. But as we just saw in that other chart, as of a few hours ago, it was all the way down to like 912. So since this map was made, it plummeted quite a bit, right? It probably averages, I guess, but isn't the center low pressure? I mean, I've got the mouse right next to the center here at like 980, 979. It's closer to land now, so it'll get weaker. I hope so. It's already Cat 5 Kid Engine. Literally like straight through Tampa, dude. Jesus Christ. And hitting St. Petersburg, so if nothing else, you know, Milton is standing in solidarity with Ukraine. How's Merida and Mexico faring? Okay, but what you have to understand is that this is not America, so it doesn't matter. Get that in your head. It doesn't even warrant mention. What is this? Disturbance 1.
Tampa, Florida. And again, the pressure has dropped. This storm has gone through extreme rapid intensification. That is qualified when we have winds of 58 miles per hour or greater within 24 hours. This thing has done even better than that. A 1.90 mile per hour increase in winds within 24 hours. So this is a special advisory coming in from the National Hurricane Center. You can see the well-defined eye of Milton, Hurricane Milton Category 5 at this point. A lot of energy with this one. And take a look at Milton's wind history history. At 5 o'clock this morning, the winds were at 100 miles per hour, quickly jumped up to 160 miles per hour. If you have missed a lot of the news over the weekend, we went to something that was unnamed, to a tropical storm Sunday morning, to a hurricane as we went through late Sunday evening. Forecast track, as the new track continues, we'll wait for this to come in from the National Hurricane Center, still having impacts on Florida. Now,
Yeah, even this is outdated. The wind speed's gotten higher since then. Hold on. I can't believe, like, Helene was such a big deal, and I feel like it's only going to end up being like the prelude to this. Like, this is going to end up being substantially worse. It's hitting a higher population, like higher density population chunk of the United States. FEMA's already tapped out. Not to mention any storms that come after Milton. Yeah, we're not even accounting for the third hurricane that's going to come right after. Let's not forget. FEMA's tapped out. Well, yeah, they've already, like, pretty much immediately, Biden immediately, like, put forward all the funds possible to help out in, like, North Carolina and stuff. You're joking, but there's a new system with a 10% chance of formation on the east coast of Florida. Yeah, we just saw it, the 10% disturbance. We'll see what happens, okay? Can't they approve more funds? Mike Johnson doesn't want to until after the election. Mike Johnson won't commit to bringing House back before the election for more hurricane relief. Can't Biden override him? No, that's not how the government works. He wants people to suffer and die because Biden being able to quickly get help for the victims of Hurricane Helene and now Milton would make Biden, and thus Harris by adjacency, look good. So allowing people to suffer and die is, politically expedient. Same as it ever was. We can't via executive order? No. Budgetary decisions have to go through Congress. I think this is the limit of what he can do via executive order. Just approved an emergency declaration from the state of Florida and ordered federal assistance to supplement response efforts that may arise due to emergency conditions. Okay, yeah, this is different. Emergency declaration from the state of Florida, that's something that he has the power to do through executive action, to, like, approve resources to there, because that's, like, a different budgetary allocation. But for FEMA, for, like, emergency response from the federal level, that is its own chunk of money, which has, as I understand it, been cleared out or has already been allocated towards the current cleanup effort. Is it crazy to think Biden could bring in the military? I mean, they do when it comes to a lot of stuff, but again, there are limits in terms of funding, authority, and also the military can't do much without the right logistics and resources, and that also takes money from FEMA. The military needs to be directed by, like, those resources, those logistical teams, because otherwise you just, like, you send the paratroopers in to do what? Jerk off? They need some expertise to help them along. Anyway, Mike Johnson is blocking Congress from well, I shouldn't say blocking Congress, won't commit to bringing the House back before the election because, he doesn't want Biden to get the win. And then they're going to blame the suffering from Milton on Biden, of course. But Biden is the commander-in-chief. How much more direct can you get? I didn't approve this. I didn't choose this. If Dems run this as an ad, it could radicalize voters against Republicans. That would be nice, but this is like the 57th time that Republicans have chosen death. It's Republicans don't listen. Non-stop, blanketed in propaganda. Look at this. From Fox News, North Carolina resident begs for Trump. We don't want to hand out, we want to hand up. What the f*** are you talking about? You're flooded. Your state is flooded. What are you talking about? They're incredibly stupid, and they're blanketed nonstop with and she looks like a skull. I'm remiss to not point that out. And they're blanketed nonstop with insane death cultist propaganda. It's not good. Biden urged Congress to restore funding to the Small Business Administration's disaster loan program. Short-term funding bill to avoid a government shutdown. Pressed on whether he would call Congress back into session before the election, Johnson replied, "We'll be in session immediately after this election." That's 30 days from now. The thing about these hurricanes and disasters of this magnitude is it takes a while to calculate the actual damages, and the states are going to need some time to do that. Jesus. Before Congress went on recess, the day before Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida, Congress appropriated $20 billion additional dollars to FEMA to address immediate needs. But not all of it, because there were additional provisions that Democrats wanted that Republicans shut down. Congress has taken swift action on funding natural disaster relief efforts in the past, even when it was on recess, a Biden administration official noted when reached for comment. Johnson's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Bush, I know this guy. Miller 6 the 9 man, I'm afraid you're incorrect. Why not sign a blank check for disaster relief? Biden can't sign a blank check. The check needs to be provided by Congress. That's what they meant. Well, I mean, Congress isn't even in session. Biden has presidential immunity, though, right? That's not how that works. What if he declares a national emergency? That also would not allow him to do what you want him to do. The Supreme Court should make hurricanes unconstitutional. Why have Republican Supreme Court justices not ruled the hurricane unconstitutional? Are they pro-hurricane? Possibly. But it kind of is, because it would be official. Like, no, McMite, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. The legal immunity for stuff that pertains to the official act of the presidency doesn't mean that Biden could just magically make money move from the government's coffers into a specific, like, there's a difference between the president is protected from the perceived illegality of official acts and the president has the ability or authority to just like redesignate funds as necessary. He can't do that. He doesn't have the power to. There's no mechanism through which he can do it. Biden can't, if Biden said, I am approving $20 billion more to FEMA, people would just be like, what do you mean? There's no mechanism for him to do that. That's how Iran-Contra worked? No. In fact, the reason Iran-Contra happened is because the president can't move money with discretion willy-nilly. The reason they were doing the illegal arms sales to transfer the money is because that was the only way the president could get the money that he needed to move it without Congress being alerted. Iran-Contra happened because money has to move through Congress before the president can allocate it. So what could Biden do with an executive order here? Not much. How is one guy holding up all of Congress? Well, Mike Johnson is Speaker of the House, so it's not just one guy. It's the Speaker of the House. So basically we are just... yes, I mean, I can't... In this respect, yes. Milton is going to make landfall. It's going to be devastating. Exactly how devastating it's going to be is apparently no one knows, not even meteorologists. The money is not there for recovery. A lot of people are going to get hurt. The Republicans are stonewalling efforts to increase aid, and afterwards they're going to blame Biden. Some of them will blame the Jews for like inventing a hurricane machine or something. Some of them will say that where was Biden when Hurricane Milton hit? And that if Biden does go down to the scene of the damage, then they'll say, well, what is he doing down there, clogging everything up? You know, that's how it's, yes, that is what is going to happen. Could Biden use the National Guard? It depends, but the National Guard can't do much of anything on their own. Like, the National Guard is a military force. You know, you need like very specific things to deal with hurricane relief and disaster areas. So is this going to guarantee a Kamala victory? No, I don't think so. How can they not? They have helicopters and stuff. They can rescue people. Lily Krem, remember what we said about asking questions? You need to think to yourself, what is the difference between FEMA and the National Guard? Like, think, just use your head. You can answer these questions yourself. I'm not a god. I don't have a magical... We possess the same faculties of reason. I'm in Tampa, 1 mile from the bay. Stereo vision. I am not joking. Leave. What the f*** are you doing watching me right now? You are literally in the, like, ultra-red evacuation zone. Literally get out. The National Guard is trained in dealing with natural disasters, Meta Knight, but FEMA isn't just like a group of people. They're a highly trained, well-organized, like extremely large, well, not as well-funded as they used to be, organization specifically trained. They have the resources, they have the logistical knowledge. The National Guard is like an all-purpose general military organization. They have the ability to help out and supplement with their resources and people, like in some situations, but think of them as like well-armed volunteers. You know, if you want like to clean up a disaster area, volunteers are helpful, but on their own you can't just get a bunch of like high school students to run out there and start picking up rocks. They're going to get hurt and they're not going to do very much. You need the machinery and the tools and the expertise, and FEMA is like there to do that. FEMA often works with the National Guard, who do some of the grunt work, you know, but like again, it's complicated. Disaster recovery is like super. I'm not, it's like not like I'm an expert on it, you know? Well, Meta Knight, the National Guard have already been deployed in North Carolina. But you need FEMA there as well. When the main force is unavailable, supplements will have to do. Well, the National Guard on their own can't help with very much. Like, their job is to support. They can't like do the work themselves. Yeah, saying like the National Guard should help is like saying the police should help. Like, are the police technically trained in disaster area, like recovery expertise, like that kind of thing? I mean, a little bit. Like, police officers often have training when it comes to basic survival skills, like disaster management, that sort of stuff. But you can't be like, oh, well, where are the Tampa cops? What are they doing? It's like, well, they're there, but you need FEMA, man. Why are people saying FEMA isn't helping? Republicans are saying FEMA isn't helping because they want to blame Biden. Biden used all the money that he could to allocate to FEMA and sent them as quickly as he could. He's done literally nothing wrong in this case. Project 2025 does involve defunding FEMA. Yeah. Yeah, everyone comes together on this, Kowalski. I just want people to understand that, like, you know, FEMA, the expertise is needed. And the National Weather Foundation, a lot of people are helping. Interactive predicted storm surge for Milton, not good. Sheesh. And this is just the storm surge, too. Yes, Noah. He is trying to make the administration look bad. He could absolutely declare a national emergency and take money from the military just as Trump did. No, I promise you he can't. What Trump did was send the military down to the border. The National Guard is already down there. It's not a question of whether the National Guard has the funding or the authority to do what they want. The emergency has already been declared. The National Guard have already been sent. It's about FEMA funding. And Biden does not have the ability through national order, or through executive order, to like magically allocate more funds to FEMA. The military is already down there and will continue to be down there. If you are in Florida right now, like if you're anywhere in this area, if you survive the next like 72 hours, you will probably see National Guardsmen. That's true, LOEC. Sorry, Tangled. Biden's a pussy. Democrats are pussies. Anyway, I'm not trying to be like argumentative. I just don't want to feed into any... Look, I love blaming Biden for the stuff he fucks up on. Look at literally anything I've ever said about Israel in particular. Right now there's like a very popular tendency on the right to blame Biden for not doing enough. And in this case, he literally cannot do any more. Like the limit of the presidency has been met. He cannot do anything more. So I just want to be clear about that, because I know there are going to be people on like left Twitter who are like, you know, where is Biden? And it's like, you're just doing Fox News stuff. He can't. Look at the barriers. Oh God, the Tampa General Hospital water barriers. Are you kidding me? This was due to Hurricane Helene. Oh man, that is grim. Can you replay? There we go. Look at this. This next one's gonna slam right into you. But he can just break laws now. Okay, I don't know if you're joking, but that's not how that Supreme Court ruling works. I just looked it up. If the National Guard are deployed, it can use money from the Department of Defense to help aid in the hurricane. Sherlock 00, they're already doing that. That's already happening. The National Guard have already been deployed. The emergency response was already declared for Helene. It will be with Milton as well. FEMA is the organization that's out of money here, the ones whose job is to facilitate all of this. The president is the commander-in-chief. He has the ability to do emergency allocations with regards to like military deployment. The National Guard are under his command, but he can't just make money appear in the coffers of FEMA. He doesn't have the authority to do that. There's no mechanism for him to do that. Congress has to approve it. I'm decently close to the hospital. The National Guard is already here. Really? They sent the National Guard ahead of the hurricane? Free shower. Have you considered the president doesn't have to follow the law anymore? You guys are really getting me, man. The Supreme Court ruling on whether or not the president is given immunity for official acts doesn't mean he can magically wave a wand and do something. So you're saying like, oh, he could just break the rules and not get in trouble. He just can't do the thing. It'd be like saying, well, it's not illegal for me to magically make a giant unicorn appear on the street. I guess it's not. Good luck doing it. Like you're arguing the question of legality. I'm saying he literally can't do it. He doesn't have the power to do it. Like, it's not a matter of whether he'll get in trouble for it later. He just can't do it. We were just making fun of SCOTUS. It's not a serious suggestion. How am I supposed to tell the difference? Does he have the power to send the National Guard in to shake down Congress members and strong arm them into reconvening? Yeah, but he's a pussy. It's okay, Posadas John. No one, in fairness, Americans really genuinely are not taught how the government works. So, and especially not leftists, to be fair. This is one of the rare areas where liberals tend to come out on top in terms of comprehension. There are so many leftists who why have so many anti-abortion laws gotten passed under Biden's administration in red states by Republican governors? You know, it is as it ever was. Yeah, drunk nihilism. I think a lot of American leftists could really do to live in a red state for a bit so they could be reminded what the difference between Democrats and Republicans is. Genuinely, whenever there's like Twitter leftists who are like, you know, they go online and they're like, yeah, there's no difference between the parties. Biden and Trump are equally complicit in fascist bourgeois, whatever, such and such. And then you look like they're always in like Chicago or New York or something. You do not see motherfuckers in Louisiana talking like that because they know the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Not saying necessarily they know more about how the government works, but that specific misunderstanding is not as common in areas where you actually see the difference. This is basically the worst case scenario for Tampa. City did disaster planning called Project Phoenix, and this is basically that scenario. Project Phoenix. Damage projected would be catastrophic and basically cripple the city for months to years. Oh, Tampa's not coming back. Pardon me for sounding alarmist, but Tampa's probably not. I mean, like, I'm being hyperbolic. Tampa will continue to exist as a city. It will probably never return to the state that it's in now. There is no money for it. And this is going to happen again next year. Some version of this is going to happen again next year. This is likely the beginning of the end for Florida. That's such a hyperbolic statement, and I want to make it clear. I don't mean like next year Florida will be like have 5 people who live in it or whatever. What I mean is like these hurricanes are going to keep mounting. They're going, even if they don't get stronger, and they will, they're going to arrive and arrive and arrive, and the infrastructural damage will be so great that it will just not be possible to rebuild the state. It will not be, not only will it not be affordable, it won't be affordable. It won't be logistically possible to keep the state built to the level that it once was. It will recede in population, in GDP. Smaller towns that are only connected via a few small roads will be abandoned because it won't be possible or feasible to build out there anymore. Larger cities will become more and more cloistered. People are going to recede from the beach, from the like coastal areas. There will be climate refugees. There have already been climate refugees. This is what I mean when I say this is the beginning of the end for Florida. Not like it's going to stop existing, but there are costs to constant nonstop damage like this. Have you been through a natural disaster? A man-made one. I was born in Los Angeles, and I survived there for over 20 years before finally escaping. I went down to visit my my grandfather in the Florida Panhandle after a hurricane. I don't remember which one. I was like 12, 13 or something. I hit puberty early, so I was like a big kid. And it was after a hurricane, and I don't remember which one, but I helped move stuff on the streets. Like trees had fallen. I remember my grandpa had a chainsaw. He was like 75. Just cutting up twink Vaush never. What the f do you think a twink is, Soupy? Do you think the city of LA is on a sustainable path? Is that a joke? Are you like teeing me up for the obvious answer? As a lifelong Floridian, it is entirely possible to live here. Republican policies that heavily prioritize constant growth have destroyed our ability to come back from hurricanes. Everywhere in my area floods severely now because there's nowhere for the water to go. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's impossible to live in Florida, like it's logistically impossible or anything like that. I'm saying that it will not return to what it is now. It will decline in population and wealth as the inevitable consequence of the area getting buffeted with hurricanes every year. Who wants to fund that shit, though? Yeah, also, like, good point. Like, Jesus Christ, can you imagine? I mean, insurance companies are already backing out of Florida as it is, and I can't really blame them. If you ran an insurance company, would you want to insure property in Florida? I'm not saying, like, if you ran an insurance company, I assume you're, like, evil and a pedophile. So, like, don't watch my stream. Stop being who you are. But, like, you can understand it's a commercially unfeasible exercise, and the state can't afford it either. What even is Florida's economy? Like, is it all Disney World? Florida actually has a fairly robust economy. Tourism, you know, your standard like real estate speculation. They've got like a tech industry that's growing. They've got oranges. Their economy's been doing pretty well, but it's not anymore. Not after this, man. Not after this. I know I've been lingering on this one for a while, but I think this is going to, I think this has the potential to be much more devastating than Helene by a large margin. Do you think it'll hit Mar-a-Lago? I have literally no idea where Mar-a-Lago is, like in the world, like on a map. Let me see. No, Mar-a-Lago is on the opposite side of Florida. It's on the east side of Florida, like on the coast. So you would need a hurricane to hit the east side. How does this compare to Katrina? Katrina was devastating in large part because of the geography of New Orleans and because the government massively f***ed up its response. It wasn't that Katrina was an exception. I mean, it was a very strong hurricane. I'm not downplaying the strength of it, but the main contributing factors were the fact that New Orleans is below sea level and the fact that they f***ed up the rescue. And by the way, remember how I said Florida's not coming back from this? New Orleans hasn't. New Orleans to this day still has, it's like a damn video game. Like, yeah, here's the part of the city that was destroyed in the great event. There are still parts of New Orleans that are, like, yeah, Leshy, I assume that Biden will call for it. We'll see what happens. As a Louisianian, stop saying it like that. No. Put Creole food in my mouth right now, and I'll stop. With all due respect, you're wrong on New Orleans. Wait, how? On what point? It's New Orleans? If I say that, they'll call me racist. I think I even went over this article on stream before. New Orleans' lower 9th ward is still reeling from Hurricane Katrina's damage 15 years later. This was from 2020. And it's like, there are whole neighborhoods. This is what the lower 9th ward looked like when Bush was president. And that are basically like, I don't know what the right term is for this, because I don't want to say like third world, because there are parts of the third world that are beautiful and vibrant and lively and full of health, right? It's like a permanent disaster zone or like post-apocalyptic, honestly, is, I feel like is the, would be the right term for it. An exclusion zone? Yeah, it never recovered. The world is blight. Well, at the very least, we should probably make do to settle in areas that aren't below sea level. Michigan is going to get so much immigration this century. Good. It's like the Rust Belt revenge, you know? Everyone fled, and now everyone's coming back. To see if I can find any recent updates on the strength of the hurricane. All the updates that we saw are from at least 2 hours ago about the current pressure and wind speed. I want to see if there's any more recent information. It looks like all the news sites that have ongoing, like, tracking of the current speed and pressure, I have it at the levels it was at 2 hours ago. I don't know if that's because there have been no updates or if that's because the storm is actually holding at those rates. My whole office just got evac notices simultaneously. Well, I hope you're in a safe place. I'm sorry about that, Peacock. Well, look, you know, the world... We're going to die in a world that's different from the one that we were born in, but hasn't that always been the case? It's unfortunate, but, you know, again, the world is resilient. It'll bounce back. That's fine. No, that's how it is. That's how it is. Updates every 2 hours from NHC. The last one was at 2. 2 EST, 2 CT. What 2? 30 minutes ago, no change? Okay. Florida will not extend Monday voter registration deadline ahead of Hurricane Milton, DeSantis says. That's great, DeSantis. Did I say Milton? Milton. I mixed Milton and Helene in my head. It was about that, Skynet. Oh my god. I don't think I've ever seen that pointed of a hurricane eye. It's reminding me of my the terror that I experienced while playing the Outer Wilds when I went to the planet with the hurricanes. You know what I'm talking about. Miami-Dade County hands out 5,000 sandbags ahead of Hurricane Milton. 5,000? Wow, 5,000. I mean, no hate to you guys. You're doing great. Just like, okay, 5,000? You might be able to, like, barricade one building. I don't know. Much of Miami-Dade County, home to 2.7 million people, is less than 10 feet above sea level. It's pretty much like, in terms of the real population of Florida, it's pretty much like 1/2 of it getting hit. Kind of. I'm being overly, like, simplistic with it. But Tampa and Orlando, and this is going to hit Orlando. It's not going to devastate Orlando the way it's going to devastate Tampa, but, like, this is like a pretty big chunk. I mean, even Fort Myers is going to get hit. A pretty sizable chunk of, like, quote unquote real Florida. You know, Tallahassee got hit by Helene, though not as badly as parts of North Carolina. Jacksonville's over there. Miami, of course, is on the other side of the state. the current path, it really does look like it was carved by God, doesn't it? I mean, Jesus Christ, the directness with which it is cutting straight through Tampa and Orlando. Divine punishment. God's tired of woke Disney. Orlando is blue. Cities are almost always blue. The large ones, at least. Hurricane Milton is the planet's strongest storm of the year, and it popped up in like 2 days. Flocks of birds seen flying in Milton's eye. That's cool. I am going to make a rack of lamb, I guess. Well, you know, that's one way to respond to impending tragedy. All right. The path you've shown was outdated from the Category 3 trajectory. Well, I mean, it's never, like, we don't know the exact path it's going to take. It's something in this general wobbly path. Playing pretty close to the sun, nuts and soupy. Also, Florida's aquifers are going to be unusable for several months. Mennonite, I can't answer that. I'm sorry. So I shouldn't be worried about Atlanta flooding again? No, not this time. Not for this one.